House on Willow Street. This was just added to Netflix very, very recently. I mean, if it wasn't today, it was in the last couple days. And I just jumped on it. Immediately, I mean, the poster was just incredible. I mean, if you haven't checked out the poster, check out the theatrical, or not the, I don't think this got a release, but, you know, the main poster that it got. Awesome, man. Just a great poster. So I kind of went into this, I don't know about high hopes, but, you know, expectations were at least moderate. And I think that the movie is kind of just like lukewarm for me. Like, I think that there's a lot of cool things, and I think there's like there's a lot of stupid fucking things, and I'll get into those. So this movie is about some criminals who are planning to go to this house and kidnap somebody from the house. They plan for 6 weeks to do this. And their plan is to just run in the house and grab this girl and run out. I don't know why it took them 6 fucking weeks to plan this, but it did, and they took him. When they get him back to the warehouse where they took her, they find out that she is possessed. Which actually I think is a great concept for a movie. I mean, you go to kidnap somebody, and you're basically bringing the demon with you, and you've just haunted yourself. You've just, you know, possessed yourself. You've fucked yourself by kidnapping this girl. So I like that idea. The opening kind of reminded me of, you know, we have a lot of those movies where criminals break into a house, and then there's, you know, something worse than them, like The Collector, Don't Breathe, People Under the Stairs, stuff like that. So now, getting into the good about this movie first, I think that the production value was solid. I think that there's a decent amount of great practical effects. There's some CGI, for sure, but the majority of it's practical and looks really good. There's a scene in this movie where, this is kind of a spoiler, but it was so nice to see an exorcism be so easily just brushed away by the possessed. Like, they're trying to exorcise her, and she just fucking decimates all of them. It's so nice, because every exorcism movie I see, I'm just sitting there like, isn't this like girl or whatever possessed by the devil? Doesn't he have any power? Can he just be like, die, and they die? You know, and like their powers seem to just, you know, go up and down throughout the movie. Like, they're super powerful, and they can like throw a fucking thing across the room, like a whole chest, and then 2 seconds later they can't seem to get off the bed. Like, it's just so inconsistent. And in this movie, this chick, the main character, I mean, she doesn't really act like, she acts like someone who's possessed, but honestly her character more resembles a Jedi in this movie. Like, that's how she recomes. I mean, I'm a hardcore Star Wars fan, and this just, I kept the whole time, like, just kept feeling like, this reminds me of like Anakin in episode 3, when he, you know, right when he becomes Darth Vader, and he's killing like the, you know, the younglings, and, you know, he goes over to Mustafar and he takes out everybody. It had that feel. She had those kinds of eyes, and she was just coming in, she was lifting people up and throwing other people, and, you know, like catching bullets as they were shot at her in midair, and like, it was straight up Jedi shit. So it was kind of cool, and it doesn't really seem hokey. I mean, in the moment, it sounds a little hokey, but it actually kind of works. So I thought that was cool. And so now on to the negative. I think that's, the acting is good, but there's some characters that are uneven. So I'll just kind of throw that in a neutral area. I will disclose, though, that like 98% of this movie does not take place at the house on Willow Street. So that title's kind of for shit, because it almost completely takes place in like some warehouse that they take her to. Anyway, the main problem I had with this film, and this is one of the biggest problems I have with horror films in general, there are so many fake out scares. There are so many, oh, there's something there. Oh no, he blinked or he closed his eyes or whatever, and then he opens them and they're gone, like a dream sequence. I fucking hate dream sequences unless they're done well in sense that either you know it's a dream, so you know it's not happening, or it's so goddamn well done that I don't even mind it. That's incredibly rare that happens. But God, dream sequences, it's such a cop out. It's like a way to kill a character and then bring them back from the dead without like having to get supernatural about it. It's so stupid. I hate it, and it happens like fucking 30 times in this movie. Just there's a villain, you know, there's a monster, there's whatever, and then the guy's and then he's not there. And then they just walk away and it's like, oh, I guess that wasn't there. Oh. Like, do it once or twice in a movie. I mean, I prefer none at all, but fuck, dude. When it gets into the 20s, it's like, do I trust anything that happens? It's kind of like I watch the show Arrow on the CW or all of those shows, and as much as I enjoy the show, I don't care anymore when anyone dies because they always bring them back from the dead. Every character that's died comes back eventually. So it's like it takes that shock away. And when you keep throwing things at the camera that aren't there, it's like a fake out jump scare that has no purpose in the film except for to scare you. And I get it, like it's a horror movie, so that's the point of scaring you. And I shouldn't even use the word scare because it's not what it does. It startles you. This is startling. There's a difference between being startled and being afraid. Jumping, ugh, and then being like, oh, everything's fine, that's not scary. What's scary is something slowly kind of eating away at you and, you know, slowly making you question what's going on and your sanity and stuff like that throughout the film. Like, oh my God, jump scares. I'm not horribly against jump scares, don't get me wrong, but if you're gonna do a jump scare, make it real. Like I said about Annabelle in a recent review. People might give that movie a lot of shit and blah, blah, blah. I don't care. That movie doesn't have one fake jump scare. Not one. Every time something happens in that movie, it really happens. That thing is really there. You know, it's the monster. It doesn't, you know. So anyway, it is what you're supposed to be afraid of. And this movie has so many fake out scares, it pisses me off. Anyway, there's a decent amount of unnecessary slow motion for some fucking reason. I don't know if they're trying to make it like some John Woo action movie. The reason that they kidnapped this character is because they're trying to get diamonds. And that basically is just thrown away as soon as they find out she's possessed. Now, granted, if I found out the chick that I just kidnapped was possessed, I probably would stop caring about the diamonds as well. But it is a central plot point in the beginning, and they actually start hinting at certain things, like that the main character had lived in the house once before, and that's how she knew, and blah, blah, blah. But it just goes away. Like, it's just an unexplored plot point all of a sudden once they find out. Now, as I said, in reality, yes, they probably forget about it, but in a movie, they kind of need to address that a little bit. And then my last main complaint is they have the demons or whatever in this movie, especially the main villain, has this long CGI tongue. Reminds me of The Strain, you know, the Guillermo del Toro FX show. It reminds me of that. The tongue comes out, it's really long and like goes into other people's mouths. And I think that using that once or twice would have been fine. I mean, it looks like a mix between practical and CGI. It looks good in moments and it doesn't look so great in other moments, but I think it primarily looks pretty good. But it's so overused that it loses any effectiveness it ever had in the beginning. So it just ceases to be creepy or scary or uncomfortable, or it's kind of just like, oh, there it is again, there it is again, there it is again. It's like fucking 17 times that it's in the movie. It's so overdone. So I think that this movie, as far as like a recommendation, I would go in to see it, but just be kind of cautious that you're going to be rolling your eyes here and there and annoyed. But I think that overall, it just, you'll kind of feel like meh about it. Like, oh, that was kind of cool here. and kind of not here. I definitely think it has its audience. I think there will be people that'll be like, what are you talking about? This movie rocked. And there'll be other people, of course, that's how any movie is. But in my opinion, I kind of left it just like, I was here and I was here throughout the movie, so I guess we're just going to kind of meet here. And that's that. So if any of that sounds cool to you and you don't care about my dislikes, then check it out. All right, bye guys.